Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our meal prep meetup. Today, we're going to focus on clean eating. So Katrina and I have some tips to share with you guys. I first just want to chat about what clean eating is, because I think some people don't know. Like, we're in this world, we've been doing it for a while, so we kind of forget that people maybe have never heard of clean eating or don't really know what that means. It doesn't mean that you're gonna, well, you should wash your fruits and vegetables, but it's not necessarily that you're gonna wash all your foods, right? So what it means is that you are eating very limited processed foods. You are trying to have a diet of whole foods, whole grains, fruits, veggies, all of those like natural foods, the things that we should be eating anyway that our body needs. Reducing sugar. If you look in like quote unquote healthy diet foods, a lot of times there's a lot of hidden sugars. So we don't go that route. We go whole foods, fruits, veggies, whole grains, like I already said. And so why would you want to eat clean? Well, first off, I think one of the biggest reasons we want to eat clean is that it can help you lose weight. Obviously, you're not going to have a lot of those hidden sugars that you do with normal foods. If you look at like peanut butter, bread, any of that, most of those like mainstream things have sugar in them. And a lot of sugar can create a lot of inflammation in your body. And inflammation is one of the number one reasons for, or one of the number one causes for a lot of chronic illnesses. So I have ulcerative colitis as an example. Having sugar flares it up. Having processed food flares it up. There's so many things that are not good for it. And so it's more of a feeling of a thinking instead of diet. Well, it's a diet, but instead of like weight loss, get the weight off, it's more of whole foods healthy. Like we're thinking about feeding our bodies in a way that are going to give us whole health, not just losing weight, but keeping your body healthy. And then obviously losing weight is a result. And when you don't have such a concentrated amount of sugar, when you're reducing those processed foods, you reduce the cravings for those as well. So those are some of the reasons. Katrina's going to talk a little bit about how to transition into it, because it can be a little bit daunting when you're first trying to start out.
Totally. So actually, you already mentioned a couple of the things that I want to go over. So my first tip is to start slow. By no means are we asking you to, empty your pantry and your fridge and, replace it all with clean eating food. It'd be a shock to you. It'd be a shock to your family, and not a sustainable way to accomplish this. So I would recommend just gradually replacing things like you said, the refined breads and the highly processed foods, just slowly picking different alternatives and incorporating them into your life, week by week by week. And then eventually it's a process. It's going to take a little while. Eventually you'll get to the place where you're heavily eating clean and less processed, and kind of flip what you might be doing currently. I think a great way to do that is to hide things, especially if you have kids, hide things in your meals. One of my favorite tricks is to buy riced cauliflower and hide it in taco meat. I actually did that for a very long time before I finally broke the news to my husband, and he had no idea that I had been doing it. And it's a great way, you can hide lots of foods or lots of veggies into foods that your family already eats, and they will never know. And then my next thing, you touched on this, is the sugar. So another great way to get started with this is a sugar detox, because sugar is addicting. I mean, we all know that. And they hide it in processed foods and diet foods to keep you coming back for more. It's a big business. So the best way, I think, is to just kick it completely. Do a sugar detox. It's hard. It's it can be painful. Like literally it can give you headaches and everything, but that's because you're so dependent on it. And once you start getting that out of your system, your body starts wanting the whole foods and the vegetables and everything that really make you feel good and fuel your body in a super healthy and clean way. So there are sugar detoxes everywhere. In fact, I'm thinking of doing a free group like this, but a sugar detox in probably next month. So keep your eyes out for that. My next tip is, you've probably heard this a million times, shop the perimeter of the store, because that's where you're going to find all the less processed foods. Everything that has a super long shelf life probably is full of preservatives, because it's highly, highly processed. It's made to last a long time. And it's also made to be cheap and affordable. But once you start shopping the perimeter and buying those whole foods, you'll realize that you're probably spending less money or about the same, because your body is so satisfied on less food that is super, super healthy for you, because it's so nutrient dense. So once you make the full transition, I think, you start to notice a huge difference in just the way your body is functioning, because you're getting so much more bang for your buck. You're getting tons of nutrients for, the same amount that you were paying before, but you were eating more food previously. So shop the perimeter. That's one of my favorites. And frozen too is okay. I love frozen veggies. I love frozen fruit. They're super convenient. They have the same nutrient value as, fresh broccoli versus frozen broccoli, and you don't have to worry about it going bad. I live by frozen vegetables. Plus it takes a lot of the prep work out because they come chopped. That's super, super nice. And like you also mentioned, the diet foods and everything, cut out low fat diet foods, because those are always super processed, full of chemicals, full of junk. You don't need something to tell you that it is a diet food in order for it to be good for you. In fact, an apple sitting on a shelf isn't going to shout, "I'm a diet food," because it's just good for you. So that's those tips about shopping. Ditch the heavy refined carbs, like you were saying, white bread, like tons of processed stuff. I always try to stick to whole grains. This is another place where you can start to transition slowly, just by replacing certain things, like, replace your white pasta with whole grain pasta. Or I just bought chickpea pasta today. We've never tried it, but I thought, we might as well give it a shot. It's cleaner than just regular white flour pasta, and it has a lot of protein in it. So double whammy there. And then meal prep, which I think is what Emily's going to talk a little more about later. Meal prep is huge. And we do have a video that we created last week. It is in the free, it will be coming up in the clean eating group in the next couple of days. But meal prep is super important. And I want to talk about why the portion control containers that we use are so important, because we fill them with whole foods. It takes any of the guesswork out of it. Like you just fill it with a vegetable, and you fill it with a fruit, and you fill it with a protein, and then you eat it. Like it's so easy and convenient, and it's almost like you don't even know you're eating clean. You're just filling it with foods that almost make sense to be consuming. And then you realize, like, oh, that meal was 100% clean. Like I didn't fold a piece of white bread and stuff it in my yellow. Instead, I scooped up some brown rice and I ate that. Like that is such a better option. And you make those choices naturally when you're using the portion control. And then when you're meal prepping, it allows you the opportunity to continue that process through the entire week, instead of relying on your, meal decision right beforehand, which can kind of get hairy sometimes, because we don't always want to cook. I'm guilty. We reach for a frozen pizza, or, we go to Taco Bell or something that we know we really shouldn't be doing. And when we have those options at our fingertips, already created and ready to go, it's a no-brainer. My next tip is to skip the calorie-filled drinks. I think that sugar can hide in your coffee, even if you're not buying it like from Starbucks or whatever. You know, those creamers are delicious, but they're full of fat, they're full of sugar that's hidden in there. So kind of phasing that out and going to a cleaner version of your coffee. I have gotten used to drinking it black. It's not everybody's preference, but it's better than, you know, dumping several spoonfuls of sugar in there. Also, my next one is learn to read labels. That is obviously where you're going to find all the stuff that is hidden in your food. And I think a great rule of thumb, I think it's like if they say if there's more than 7 ingredients, you probably should bypass it. And if there's anything you can't pronounce, certainly leave it on the shelf. Like kind of like I said with an apple, you don't have to look up the ingredients, you know, it's an apple. And that makes it easy. And also, you know, those are the easy snacks too, the ones that are just what they are: apples, carrots, cucumbers. Like those are going to fuel your body. They're going to make it run great. They're super simple for you and also for your kids. I hand Ella apples all the time, and she'll walk around for an hour munching an apple, and it's like her favorite thing. Like they don't have to be gummies and stuff for your kids to snack on. They're super easy, super convenient, and extremely good for their body and for yours. Eat lots of protein is another tip I have, whether it's from meat or beans or, you know, however you are able. Shay can probably talk a lot more about non-meat based protein, where you can find that, but protein is filling. It keeps you full for longer. And like Emily said, our goal here isn't necessarily to lose weight. It's to transition into a healthy lifestyle that just makes your body feel good. And when you're fueling your body with clean proteins, you're going to naturally have the weight loss that you might be looking for, because it does keep you fuller longer. Don't let the myth of carbs fill you up trick you, because your body will burn through those super fast. And the protein is, if it's clean, it'll last a long time. It'll give your body so much energy and keep you full, so you won't be, you know, maybe craving a carb. I crave carbs, so I know how that goes. My next tip is to try new foods. This can be scary, because a lot of us have, you know, found ourselves in like mom mode where we, you know, just do what's quick and easy. And we are cycling through the same foods over and over and over again because we know it's what our family likes. It's what we know our kids will eat. And I think it's important to kind of branch out, and this can be done just like the slow transitioning. Introduce one new thing a week or 2 new things a week and just see how it goes. You know, maybe make the same food a couple of times, like Brussels sprouts. We love Brussels sprouts in this house. At first they were funky, but now we've found ways that we really like them. And so all of us eat them. The kids love them. And it's because I experimented with different ways of serving them. And now I know that, you know, they like Brussels sprouts. They'll eat them. So it's an easy meal option. And those come frozen too, which is a lifesaver. And then, oh, this one's great. Look for healthy versions of your favorite foods. I love finding copycat recipes. The internet is your best friend. You can find anything on there except for Chick-fil-A nuggets. Cannot find those. You can only get Chick-fil-A nuggets at Chick-fil-A. I promise there's not a copycat. But everything else, pretty much you can find. Yes, Pinterest, for real. So good. You can find copycat recipes for so many things, even desserts you can find. And there's lots of different ways to sweeten your foods that is not white sugar. So I would highly, highly recommend doing some research and finding new recipes and new ways of making things that you and your family love. And then, you know, I think that was actually it, because my last one is the coffee thing, which I already covered. So
Awesome. I had
Yeah.
some other thoughts too while you're talking
Oh
through
yeah,
those.
date syrup.
Okay, so on sugar, like substitutes, I guess. So for me, I've always been like a yogurt person. Like I used to get like the flavored fruity yogurts, right? And I've switched that to then adding, I get plain Greek yogurt, which has more protein, and I try to find one. They're not all created equal. So again, like reading the label and seeing which ones have less sugar, more protein. That's how you're going to know. I think there's a ratio. I don't know what it is. There's some ratio that you should look for from sugar to protein for your yogurt. And then instead of like it being a sugary filled fruity thing, I'll add either a little bit of honey or a little bit of pure maple syrup. So you want to make sure you're getting real maple syrup, not the fake stuff that's just basically high fructose corn syrup. And then I add some cinnamon and I add some frozen fruit to it, like mangoes or strawberries or blueberries, whatever I have. So that's like one example of a healthier version of something that you might like to have that's just like all whole things and it still tastes really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the frozen thing too. So one thing about frozen fruits and veggies and all of that, normally those are picked at their prime time of season when they're in season. And so that means you're getting the most nutrients for that fruit. And that's when they freeze them. So they're really like a great option.
Yeah, that's a super good point. I didn't think about that. And
Yeah,
that means they're available year round too.
totally.
Like you can get, things that aren't typically in season. You mentioned Greek yogurt, and I wanted to say one of the things that, yes, the Chobani, they also have a new squeeze bottle that we like to use in place of sour cream, because sour cream, it can be super high in fat. But I really like to get the protein in for the kids because Ella doesn't eat a lot of meat. And so I have to find sneaky ways to give her protein. And that is a great way. Neither of the kids have any idea, it's just Greek yogurt and, it acts like sour cream. So tacos obviously are where it's at.
Yes.
Hide your cauliflower in your tacos and use Chobani as sour cream instead.
Yeah, one thing we've done, like we started this when my kids were so young, is that we do spaghetti squash, like regular spaghetti.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
And they've like barely ever had like regular spaghetti noodles. And then we had spaghetti noodles and they didn't like it as much as the spaghetti squash.
Really?
But if you're like just getting started, you could maybe try to add in some spaghetti squash with your normal spaghetti and like transition over that way just to get extra veggies. Use again like a whole wheat versus a white processed type of noodle, or the chickpea noodles are actually really good and you can't even tell that.
Cool. I'm excited to try them.
Yeah, they're so good. Okay. So I think one of the biggest myths out there, biggest lies, is that it's expensive or more expensive to eat healthy.
Yeah.
I think that's absolute crap. Like that's not true. And I think meal prepping helps it be even more cost effective. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why I want to go into a little bit about meal prepping and like how to do it, why you should do it. I think when you're trying to transition into healthy eating, it's so easy to just go back to your old ways unless you've like already planned out your meals and you have them ready and easy to like grab and that's the decision you're going to make. It just makes it easier. So I'm just going to walk through like my process of meal prepping, and then Katrina, you can like jump in with any of, any tips in how you do it. But I always start by writing out my plan. Like planning is key. Look up recipes that look good to you. Katrina said, try new things, for sure. Try new things. I also think like looking at a recipe and doing something that you like, so there have been many times when I've tried to start diets and like it's a very prescriptive, like you have to have a tuna salad with whatever on this day. I hate tuna. Okay. So I've tried so many times to do these diets where it's like the meal is something that I absolutely hate. And then I like get to that meal and then I'm done. I'm off. I'm out.
And it ruins the rest of it. Yeah.
It totally ruins it. You just like quit. Yep. So yes, try new things, but also make sure you're picking a good variety of things that you know that you like. because that can just kind of like throw you off, right? So maybe like one new thing a week, try it. If you don't like it, that's fine, but don't give up, don't quit. So pick your meals for the week. There's again so many resources. Brianne said Pinterest, yes. Beachbody blog, you guys, that's available to anybody. Just go on. There's so many recipes. There's so many plans laid out already of meal prepping too. If you want to just have a plan, if you like that, then there's some on there that you can look up too. Write it out. I always like to look in my freezer, my fridge, my pantry, and see what I already have, and then make recipes and things around those, as long as they're like healthy things that I have in my pantry and freezer and fridge. And then grocery shop. So Katrina already gave some great tips on like sticking on the perimeter, reading labels while you're grocery shopping. I'd also add in, have a snack before you go so you don't grab all the crap. And plan out everything. Like plan out your kids' snacks, plan out your snacks, plan out your breakfast, lunch, dinner, like everything you're going to have, and then shop for all of those things. I think Katrina and I both just go like once a week to the grocery store, right? Yep. Like we buy it, we plan it for the whole week, we go once. That saves so much time. We're not having to like think throughout the week of what we're going to have and to make an extra trip to the store.
Well, I think that ultimately saves money too, because, you know, every time you go to the store, you get something that's not on your list.
Totally.
So when you go once, you are only doing that once.
Yeah. And don't like try to forget. Like every once in a while I'll be a little sneaky with myself and I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to get cilantro for the tacos. I better go there and pick up a bottle of wine and a chocolate bar while I'm there too. Just guys.
Just skip the cilantro, make the
it's
taco.
Like, really, do I really need cilantro? Yeah. No. Okay. And then write out like a prep plan. Like what are the things that you can prep for the week? Like, can you cook rice ahead of time? Can you cook quinoa ahead of time? Chop up all your vegetables. And if you're on a time crunch, last week, I think Katrina said she'll post the video recording from last week, but we talked a lot about like saving time. Like that's the number one thing I think people don't meal prep is because they think it takes up too much time.
Yep.
But if you're maximizing your time by having a plan for your meal prep, you will get it done like in an amount of time, get it done quicker, and save time in the long run, save time during the week when it matters most. Like when you are starving and you'd really love to go through the Chick-fil-A drive-through, but you know, like, oh, I already have like a good meal prepped at home. I might as well just go home. So yeah. I think that those are my big tips. I feel like I had one more thing, but now I don't remember. Oh, one more thing on like swaps. So actually one more thing on just like eating healthy in general. You guys, you can make things taste so good with spices and like fresh lemon juice, fresh lime juice. Like you don't need the sauces, the dressings, you know, all the things like salad dressings, barbecue sauces, all of that. It has so much sugar, so much processed things. Read the labels and you'll see. But there are ways to make those types of sauces and salad dressings and things with better ingredients that taste really, really good. So don't think that because you're eating healthy and clean that you have to just have like a plain chicken breast and plain rice. Like you can add some really good seasonings to that and make it taste really good so that you're not just like suffering in the name of healthy eating.
Absolutely. And Sam's and Costco, they have a really good seasoning selection for super cheap. I'm pretty sure I have purchased every single seasoning that Sam's carries and they're like $3 or something. They're like, and they're big bottles of seasoning. They'll last forever. And I add them, just like you said, to vegetables and to chicken. And how do you think I hide cauliflower seasoning?
Yeah, totally.
Yes, everything bagel.
Yeah,
that's actually what made me think of the Sam's.
Does somewhere else have that? Trader Joe's is where I get that.
Yeah, Trader Joe's has it too. That stuff is amazing. Now I had something else to say also, but now I forgot what it was.
If anybody has any questions, go ahead. You can chat type it in the chat, or if you're brave enough to go off mute, you can do that too.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. On the beach, I think it's on the Beachbody blog. It may have been in the Fixate cookbook. Autumn has a ranch dressing like dupe, and I made it and nobody knew the difference. And it's made with Greek yogurt. And
I've made that before. It's so good.
So good. I like couldn't stop eating it. I was so surprised. And I was like, this is so much better than buying a bottle of Ken's. Like Ken's is good, but
once you start eating and like swapping some of those things out, like you'll realize after some time that you go back to having something that's processed and whatever, and it doesn't taste good. Like you can taste the like fillers or the whatever in it. It's so weird. So it does take some time to like swap over your taste buds, but it'll happen and you'll feel so much better. Like again, it's all about like feeling good, being healthy. And then obviously the weight loss is a byproduct of that.
Yeah, because we want longevity, you know. We all want to be able to hang with our kids when we're 60, and not feel the aches and pains. And diet is a huge component of that. Just like you said, sugar, causes inflammation.
Yeah.
I wonder what the lasting effects of that are.
Okay, so Brienne asked about what to put in the protein container. So she said, I can't do just chicken or turkey. So yogurt, Greek yogurt, again, that's a protein. So what I usually have, I usually have chicken, or I have a Greek yogurt, or on the vegan side, Shay, you wanna add anything on there? Other plant-based options?
So I was gonna say that there's a few options too. If you go on to your Beachbody On Demand, if you have that, and you go to the blog, you can type in portion control containers or portion fix containers, and it'll give you a list too of everything that you can put in it, or you can even Google it. And it will give you a list for vegan and vegetarian options, and it'll also give you a list for meat eating options. And it's very different for both. Like things like we get protein from quinoa, we get protein from broccoli, we get protein from beans, lentils. I can do nuts, my husband can't. There's so many options for protein. The other thing that I was going to just add on is so many times our society is so focused on protein, which yes, it's important, but we eat a diet that is already so rich in protein that like my dad will be like, I gotta have protein, and he'll literally sit down and eat 2 whole chickens, but actually your body can't process that much protein. Like it can't process it. So kind of being aware of what you're eating that may already have a good amount of protein in it. That so many times, we're in like this society, we got to eat protein to lose weight. Well, yes, but also be conscious of what you're already eating probably has protein in it too, to where you might be okay. So just to kind of look at it as a whole, of really we're more nutrient deficient than we are protein deficient. So making sure to have your Shakeology every single day, because no matter what kind of diet you eat, you're not getting enough nutrients, especially the way that America's food society is. And I won't rant out about it because I could, but the way that our food is grown and processed and made, we have lost a lot of nutrients within our food, which is why Shakeology is so important. But then making sure that you have those leafy dark greens and good whole fats in your diet and good complex carbs and things that, for me, growing up in a diet home with a mom who had eating disorder issues, who then passed that on to me, you grow up with this, I have to cut carbs, I have to cut cheese, I have to cut out the fat, I'm going to buy low fat, I'm going to buy all these diet foods, which are actually terrible for you. Instead of your body knows what to do with those whole foods. And so protein is super important, but even more important is those whole foods of the dark leafy greens and fruits and vegetables, and then adding in your protein. So lentils are huge, quinoa is huge, beans are huge. Those are like the 3 main
Tempting.
protein sources for my family being vegetarian. We also do not eat a lot of soy. I do eat like the fake chicken every once in a while. I have it in my freezer for those times that I'm starving. And yesterday in my stories, I was like, I have these because it's either this or McDonald's French fries. And the processed soy fake chicken is a better option than McDonald's. And so I have it for quick fix, but also to kind of stay away from those foods that are advertised as healthy, or like being a vegetarian, they're like, oh, it's fake chicken, and oh, it tastes like chicken, so eat it because you want a chicken sandwich, but really it's one of the most processed things.
Totally.
So to focus on the whole food protein and the whole food options instead of the processed kind. So quinoa, dark leaf greens, broccoli, things like that are awesome for protein.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because like gluten-free, vegan, like those are like on labels now, but it does not equal healthy necessarily.
Right.
Like it could be so processed, it could have a lot of sugar, all of that, and it's not good for you.
And that doesn't mean that you can't, incorporate those kinds of lifestyles into your household. You can, I mean, Shay can attest to this over and over. You can be vegetarian, you can be gluten-free, but you can still do it in a very clean and whole way, without overloading your body on those processed foods.
Yeah, so we're gluten-free, mostly dairy-free, vegetarian, sugar-free, and then we can't do corn, nuts, seafood, shellfish, raw fruits and vegetables. Crazy diet. But I've been able to adapt it, one, because of this job, because I've been forced to live a healthy life in the most amazing way possible. But two, because we live in such an awesome place that we have the options. But when I first started out, I was definitely like, ooh, this says gluten-free. Ooh, this says gluten-free. Oh, this is advertised with all the check marks that I can't have. But then you look at it and it's like, this food was made in a lab somewhere. Like it's not even real food, but it checks off all the marks. It was meat-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, soy-free. I was like, oh, sweet, I'm going to buy this. Then you check over, like I love that you mentioned reading labels, because it's so important to read them and not the front. The front is going to tell you all things. You guys, what are they called? Lucky Charms are gluten-free. Lucky Charms are gluten-free. You read it, you're like, sweet, gluten-free Lucky Charms? Check. No. In fact, here's another little label thing. I was buying my kids Honey Nut Cheerios because I was like, sick, Cheerios. They have the exact same amount of sugar as Lucky Charms. So then I was like, eat all the marshmallows. Yeah. So you have to read the labels because the front is going to say that it's healthy for you. The front is going to say it's amazing. You've got to read the nutrient labels because then you're going to find out that your kids are better off eating Lucky Charms.
Yeah, I mean, marketing is a huge business, and they put those things on there because they know people will be attracted to them.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to run out of time, and I'd hate for it to just like cut us off because it's done that before. But if you guys are in the free group, you've heard us talking about like Beachbody on Demand and all that. There are resources. You could sign up for a 2-week free trial if you're interested and get access to some of our meal plans and how to use the containers and all of that. So whoever invited you to that group, reach out to them and they can help you with that. And just thank you for listening and coming. And if you have any other questions, we're going to post this recording in our virtual studio that we have and free group. And you guys can ask any extra questions that you guys have. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Katrina. Such great tips.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.